experiences from different countries and regions. So today I will introduce one by one our distinguished panelists to give their speeches to you. I hope we will have good contribution and negotiation, and also the exchange of thoughts about disaster resilience and risk reduction all over the world. So first of all, I would like to give the floor to our distinguished panelist, Ambassador of the Republic of Chile to Ankara, Mr. Rodrigo Arcos. Before he starts his speech, I will introduce him shortly. He was graduated from the University of Chile, from the Department of History and Geography. He has a master's degree in international studies, again in Universidad de Chile. He has also degree studies on economy and political relations in Southeast Asia. He also has a scholarship of Japanese government. He did some research in University of Tsukuba. He has diploma on international business from University of the Pacific. And he has studies on history, foreign policy, and international relations at Georgetown University. He was the first secretary in Embassy of Chile to Japan between the 2001 to 2005, and he was a consular at the Embassy of Chile to the United States between the years 2007 and 2012. And also he did a mission in Deputy Director in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Chile between the 2012 and 2013, and he was also Consul General at the Consulate General of Chile in Shanghai in 2014 and 2015. And also he was Deputy Chief of Mission at Embassy of Chile to Brazil between the 2016 and 2019. And lastly, before Ankara, he was Minister Consular at Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Chile. So now I would like to give the floor for Mr. Arcos, please.
Here.
What would you, any time possible?
Hello? Okay. Thank you very much for your kind words and introduction. I realize I'm getting old. Thank you very much. Disaster prevention and response in Chile. The study of management of crisis of risk associated with natural disasters in Chile acquires a crucial importance due to the geographical and climatic diversity of our country, which exposes it to the wide range of natural threats, from earthquake and tsunami to forest fires and volcanic eruption. Chile faces constant challenges that require deep understanding of its risks and the implementation of effective management and prevention strategies. Natural disasters have made it clear that understanding and preparing for this threat is not only essential for the safety of the population, but also for the sustainable development of the country. The detailed analysis of this risk provide the necessary basis for policy formulation, urban planning, and the implementation of preventive measures that contribute to society's resilience to adverse events. Since 1960, Chile has experienced more than 15 major earthquakes. As you may know, the earthquake that occurred in Valdivia, in the south of Chile, on May of 1960 cost the life of almost 20,000 people and left more than 2 million people displaced. It was 1/4 of the total Chilean population at that time. And it has been the major event registered in the modern era, reaching the magnitude of 9.5 in Richter scale. In the last 60 years, Chile has recorded about 20 major volcanic eruptions throughout the country, tsunamis, drought season, and more recently, large-scale bushfires, such as the one that occurred at the beginning of last year. In 1972, the first modern seismic design standard, known as seismic building design, was established in Chile. Before this rule, there were only provisions, despite the great earthquake that occurred in 28, 39, and 1960. The standard has been updated in 1906 and 2009, and after the earthquake on February 27, 2010, the emergency rules were created that later modified the Chilean seismic standard for building to its actual status. In Chile, after 2010, we moved from emergency management to risk management with a preventive approach. In addition to the 2012 National Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction, regional platforms were created and risk management units have been installed in ministries and municipalities. Citizens has given clear sign of the experience and ability to cope with disaster. However, this capacity varies depending on the type of threat, being better prepared for seismic threat than others, such climatic or health ones. In line with this approach, Chile, as a member, founding member of the United Nations, Chile adopted the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015-2030, updating and giving continuity to the commitment and process initiated in previous decades with the Hyogo Framework of Action 2005-2015. Thus, Sendai configured as a new international reference in this matter, acting in full coherence with the agendas that pursue sustainable development with the horizon of 2030. Sendai Framework inspired the Chilean National Policy for Disaster Risk Reduction, promulgated in 2021, in which, through the National Strategy Plan, seeks to establish the guidelines for a strengthened risk disaster management, and the country promoting synergetic articulation between the various actors of the society in pursuit of the sustainable development and the resilient nature of territories and communities. In that sense, the Chilean National Disaster Prevention and Response Service, SENAPRED, was established in 2023, exercising the role to promote this international commitment, given its mandate as coordinator of the Disaster Prevention and Response System, SENAPRED. Well, this is the successor of National Emergency Office of the Ministry of Interior, or NEMI, created in 1974, I think, yes, 1974, in charge of planning and coordinating public and private resources intended for the prevention and attention of emergency and disaster of natural origin or caused by human action, providing ministries, delegation, regional government, municipalities and civil protection agencies at the national, regional, provincial and communal level, models of management plans for the prevention and management of emergency disasters and catastrophes. Therefore, SENAPRED create a new integrated system focused on prevention, early warning, decentralization and territoriality, and establish a national emergency policy which must be updated every 5 years. The objectives of the service are linked with the ministerial strategic objective, that is to develop, coordinate and implement the National Disaster Prevention and Response System to ensure adequate disaster risk management. Preparedness for the risk of disaster is essential to minimize the impact on the population, the national economy and the environment. Reducing risk is a task for all actors and sectors of the society, not only a responsibility of the state, and not least of the government. Therefore, having support networks with neighbors and families is a key factor of self-care and mutual support, which help us to maintain well-being in times of disruption of our lives. Taking preventive measures and knowing what to do in different types of emergency allows us to be calm and act more safely when adverse event of any nature occurs. For the above mentioned, it is essential to participate in training, community preparation programs, drills, and other activities promoted by the public sector, organized by civil society, or even from the private sector. The National Disaster Prevention and Response System in Chile is made up of a set of public and private entities with competences related with disaster prevention and response that make the system operate in the communal, provincial, regional, and national level. This new system also incorporates the rules, policy, plan, and other instruments and procedures related with disaster risk management. The disaster risk management committees are entities that will exercise the function of each phase, the national, provincial, regional, and communal level as appropriate. The committees will constitute according to the level of emergency in the affected geographical areas to exercise function of the response recovery phases. In addition to National Committee of Disaster Risk Management composed by ministers and representatives of Army Force and Police, there are also regional committees chaired by presidential delegate in which regional governors and other local authorities will participate. There are also provincial and communal committees. The Ministry of Interior and Public Security might declare is the institution that should and might declare a preventive emergency in the event that an area affected by an emergency risk. Within the framework of the National Policy for Disaster Risk Reduction, the bodies of the state administration must develop a sectoral plan for disaster risk management. Likewise, risk maps must be developed by the National Service for Disaster Prevention in accordance with the regional government, the municipalities, and the regional minister secretaries of housing and urban planning, and responding technical bodies. The risk maps are incorporated in disaster risk management plans corresponding to regional, provincial, and communal levels. At this stage, which are these lessons we learned? We moved from emergency management to risk management with a preventive approach. We had a strict application of modern seismic design standard. The design and implementation of the National Policy for Disaster Risk Reduction is a must. Design and implementation of sectoral plan for disaster risk management at regional, provincial, and municipality levels are a must. The main services like hospitals, school, and public offices should have individual plan for disaster risk management. Reducing the risk is a task that all actors and sectors of the society, not only responsibility of the state and not least the central or local government. However, the central and local government must establish the guidelines and must control its correct application. Educating and training the population is essential to reduce risks. I read yesterday your panel there, and I translated because I'm not good in Turkish. And it's true. They said daha iyi bir gecelik, yerelden gecelik. So everything starts at the municipality has a first, line of activities. We will talk later about how the Chilean response to earthquakes that is is a very well way to know how we prepare for disasters. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving this great speech about how you deal with the disasters during the time. I am planning to take some questions at the end. We will have a discussion time. So I also have some questions, and maybe we can take some questions from the audience. So I will continue with the second panelist, if you let me. Our second panelist, Ms. Belinda Gottardi, she's City's Councillor in Castelmaggiore, and also she is representative from Council European Municipalities and Regions. So I will give a brief introduction about you, Ms. Gottardi. Ms. Gottardi has been elected Mayor of Castelmaggiore in 2014 and 2019. She is a member of the Italian delegation to the Congress of the Council of Europe since 2018. She is currently a member of Current Affairs Committee and member of Monitoring Committee. She is also serving as European spokesperson at CEMR for Climate and Climate Change and a member of the European Board of the Covenant of Mayors. She has involved in several projects and policies, including civil protection plan, integrated mobility systems for air quality, creation of local welfare policies, including education and cultural policies, together with Youth Council. So the floor is yours, Ms. Gottardi.
Thank you. And as you already heard in the presentation, I'm a spokesperson for climate at CMR, and in the last 30 years, I held several institutional roles in the municipality of Castelmaggiore, but also in the metropolitan city of Bologna and in the political staff of Emilia-Romagna region. And during my mandate as a mayor in Italy, it's 10 years, I faced an earthquake, the collapse of a riverbank, several floods, and the pandemic. This in 10 years. Of course, I was directly involved in the management of all that disasters. In addition, now as a member of the Emilia-Romagna region staff, in May 2023, in September and October 2024, I was witness and collaborate in managing the consequences of 3 dramatic floods that affected thousands of citizens and a large area of the region. The plain, the Bolognese plain, had become a swamp, and the mountains, due to landslides, now have a different profile, so that even the appearance of the territory has changed. Between one flood and another, there was not even time to repair the damages of the previous flood, and many people have seen their home destroyed 3 times in a year. These have been unprecedented events, but they are becoming more and more frequent and ordinary due to climate change, of course, and one thing that is very clear to me, and not only to me, is that it's not over, and there will be other floods and other dramatic situations. One thing I noticed is that every emergency is different from the previous one, and nothing ever goes as you expect. Forecasts are never 100% reliable, and often the reality in front of you is more complex than the one announced. As accurate as your planning is, there is always something that is not working as you would expect, and the variables are always many. What we know is that it is necessary to know the territory, identify risk, predict events, plan intervention protocols, manage events effectively when they occur, repair and compensate for damage. In the so-called peace period, work for prevention, because the territory affected by the events is increasingly fragile. I'll tell you now as concisely as possible about the Italian and about my experience. First is the planning. And first of all, it is necessary, as we already heard also from the Chile experience, to have a civil protection plan. In Italy, the concept of civil protection was born after the earthquake in Campania, Italian region, in 1980. At that time, there wasn't a civil protection system and organization. It was a disaster. Nobody knew what to do. There was no coordination at all, and the aid to the population arrived days after the earthquake with a dramatic delay. Today, all Italian municipalities must have a civil protection plan. It is in charge to the municipalities. The plan contains an analysis of the territory, the organization of the civil protection structure, the human and instrumental resources, the types of possible risks, the alert system, the rules of behavior for the population, the coordination and intervention procedures. With this plan, it is clear what should be done in each situation and who should do it. The plan must be updated at most every 3 years. Exercises must be done periodically, and the population must be informed about the contents of the plan. It is necessary, so planning, organization, and training to react to events with promptness and technical ability. So, second is the organization. The Italian institutional civil protection system is structured at the national, regional, and local level. At the national level, there is the Department of Civil Protection with tasks of direction and coordination of the entire National Civil Protection Service. At the regional level, there is the Regional Agency for Territorial Security and Civil Protection, which deals with emergency management and post-emergency resources. And in the municipalities, the mayor is responsible for civil protection, directly and personally. He or she is in charge of prevention, of the organization of the service at the local level, and must ensure operational and response readiness during the calamitous events. It is up to the mayor to adopt measures to protect public safety, the activity of informing the population on risk scenarios, preparing the civil protection plans and implementing them, coordinating activities of assistance to the population, carrying out civil protection planning and rescue management activities, coordinating civil protection volunteering. When an emergency occurs, there is therefore a system that is set in motion immediately at all levels and in a coordinated manner. There are institutional meetings where representatives of all operational functions are present: earth, health, volunteering, telecommunication, energy supply, and so on, which interact directly and effectively. So at each institutional level, there is an operational structure capable of functioning and which allows timely articulation of operational responsive thanks to the presence on the territory of centers organized in advance. The forecasting system, I speak mostly about floods. That is what happen more frequently. And of course, we can predict floods, not earthquakes or pandemics. So we know that not all events are predictable. Pandemics and earthquakes arrive without being announced, while weather events and river floods can be predicted in advance. Here, technology helps us with forecasting system, the placement of hydrometers for real-time measurement of rainfall and river floods, for example, and we periodically receive forecasts and monitoring on the ongoing situation, and in most cases we can predict in advance what will happen and warn the population. Once the weather event is predicted, it is important to understand the level of intensity and place it on a gravity scale. So we will have a green code if all goes well, or a yellow code, orange, up to the red code in the most intense events. Each code corresponds to a behavior that the population, the institution, and the civil protection system must implement, and it is described in the Civil Protection Plan. Once we know about the weather event, an alert system is activated, so a phone call arrives at all telephone numbers of the citizen describing the incoming event. The weather alert bulletin is also communicated through social networks and with telegram messaging. It is important that the forecast is as accurate as possible and that it is communicated in a timely and effective manner with a clear text. Citizens must know in time the alert to implement those behaviors necessary to protect their safety. Today, the terms yellow alert, orange, and red are clear concepts at all levels of the population and also allow people to implement self-protection rules. In this period in Italy, a national public alert system is being tested because this alert I spoke about, it's at municipal level, but now a national public alert system is being tested and it's called ET Alert and is provided for direct information to the population which broadcasts useful messages to mobile phones in a given geographical area in the event of serious emergencies or imminent or ongoing catastrophes. What lesson have we learned? Surely we have understood that the importance of listening to experts, carefully assessing risks, and acting responsibly to protect human lives and preserve the environment. Natural disasters also teach us the importance of preparation. Many disasters, although unpredictable, can be addressed more effectively if the community is prepared. It is important to know the territory, but also to be aware of what needs to be done during a calamitous event. The Italian national campaign I Don't Risk, which is a periodical campaign, is an example of direct communication to the population to make them more aware. Knowing if the area where you live, work, or stay is at hydrogeological risk helps to better prevent and deal with emergency situations. And some practical tips that may seem trivial, such as avoiding underpasses, steeply sloping roads, staying on the upper floors, finding out about the emergency plan, identifying collection areas are essential elements and can save life. One of the most valuable lessons that come from a natural disaster concerns solidarity. After every disaster, it's amazing to see communities come together to help those affected. People mobilize, offer their help, their assets, and their strength to alleviate the suffering of most needy. Another significant lesson is resilience. After every tragedy, people, families, and communities demonstrate an extraordinary ability to get up, rebuild, and move forward. The scars that remain after disasters are durable, but the ability to adapt and start over is one of the most powerful characteristics of the human being. Communities that have experienced disasters become stronger, more united, and more aware of the need to work together. Reconstruction, physical and psychological, is a long and difficult process, but it is also an act of hope, trust, and renewal. What solution can we put in place? Every natural disaster brings with it a reflection on our relationship with nature. Ecological catastrophes show us how the alteration of natural balances caused by man can have devastating consequences. Climate change, excessive urbanization, deforestation, and continuous aggression against natural ecosystems only exacerbate the impact of extreme natural events. Disasters teach us that we can no longer ignore the importance of protecting and preserving the environment in which we live. Only with sustainable management of natural resources and policies aimed at protecting the planet we can hope to reduce the frequency and intensity of some calamities. The choices we make today will have a direct impact on our future and that of the generation to come. What can we do to make the territory safer? Reduce our environmental impact both in the construction world and in the industrial world. Develop low carbon technologies, exploit renewable energy sources, and improve energy efficiency. Design new structures or redevelop existing ones to make them resilient to climate change, and design buildings capable of better withstanding a natural disaster. A wise measure, also often unpopular, is the relocation of settlements. Houses in risk areas should be demolished and rebuilt in different areas following anti-flood criteria. If floods cannot be avoided, however, the damage they inflict on things and people can be reduced, for example, causing controlled overflows instead of allowing the waters to crumble the embankment by pouring much larger amounts of water on fields and cities. To prevent future disasters, a different planning of cities and countryside is necessary. Build less, save land, especially leave room for rivers. Where conditions permit, build expansion boxes in the plains to give vent to the floods. Other measures are those of renaturalization of rivers and slots. Nature-based solutions include various interventions that benefit and protect ecosystem and biodiversity and can increase resilience to extreme events such as floods. Am I on time?
Yes.
Yeah. One of the ways to deal with crisis situation is to think collectively in terms of risk reduction. Think more about how to prepare in advance to face the crisis and less about the disaster response. This way we will be more ready for the next event because, as I already said, there will definitely be a next time. The challenge is precisely in the events that will be repeated in this new disaster that will occur sooner than we are used to. Policies implemented by Emilia-Romagna, for example, the Pact for Work and Climate prepared by the region after the health emergency, establish commitment and responsibilities to face challenges that can no longer be postponed, including the climate emergency. On this issue, it is proposed to accelerate the ecological transition, starting the regional path to achieve carbon neutrality before 2050, and move it to 100% clean and renewable energy by 2035, combining, and this is the thing, productivity, equity, and sustainability, generating new quality work. Overcoming the potential conflict between development and the environment by generating job opportunities from the ecological transition is in fact the great challenge of our time. Second, the emotional impact of calamitous events is very strong. The flood, which is the most common of natural disaster in Italy, has unpleasant short and medium and long-term consequences on the well-being, relationships, and physical and mental health of the victims. One of the most common mental disorders in these victims is post-traumatic stress. In Emilia-Romagna, the inhabitants of the centers affected by the flood can count on a psychological support service made available by the Public Health Service. In conclusion, natural disasters offers us lessons that are fundamental to our progress as a society. Human fragility, solidarity, preparation, the need to protect the environment, and resilience are all lessons that we should apply day by day. Only if we learn from these tragic events, we can build a future in which communities are stronger, more aware, and better prepared to face the challenges that await us. The hope of a better future is built in difficulties, learning from the past experiences, and working together for a safer and more resilient tomorrow. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's great. Thank you very much for this great speech about the experience in Italy, and especially you were talking about floods and climate change, and as another issue we have earthquakes, but we have also ongoing some kind of disasters regarding climate change impacts. Thank you very much. I took some notes. Maybe at the end I can give some summary about that. And we will come to the now the third panelists. So I would like to give the floor to Mr. Yoichiro Hoshino. He is the second secretary at Embassy of Japan in Turkey. He Maybe before he is giving his speech, just I would like to give a short introduction of you. Mr. Hoshino has been serving at the Embassy of Japan in Turkey under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs since 2022. Am I right? Right. From 2015 to 2022, he held various positions in different divisions within Japan's Ministry of Land Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism. He holds a bachelor degree in civil engineering from the Faculty of Science and Technology at Tokyo University of Science, as well as he has a master degree in civil engineering from the Graduate School of Engineering at the Tokyo University of Tokyo. So I'm giving the floor for your speech. Please.
Can I right?
Yeah, sure. We can change the, if you like, the seats. Is it all right for you? Okay. You can.
Is it like this?
But can you see from that far? If you like, we can change, and you can sit here and you can
using slide.
Using slides.
Okay.
If you like, I can open it.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Okay. Maybe they will show it in a minute.
Okay.
I think.
Thanks so much.
Slide will take you. Okay.
Okay.
In a minute, just a minute.
Okay, I see.
Bu PowerPoint olmadığı için acaba PDF olarak belki acaba ondan mı? Okay.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your introduction. My name is Hoshino Yoichiro from the Embassy of Japan in Turkey. I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak at this event. It has been 2 years and 10 months since I came to Turkey. During this time, the most memorable event was the devastating earthquakes occurred in Kahramanmaraş. Therefore, I would like to take this opportunity today to talk about the earthquake experience and the cooperation between Japan and Turkey. I remember that I contacted, at the time of the earthquake occurred, I remember that I contacted Afet and asked whether Japanese government need to dispatch the Japanese disaster relief team to Turkey or not. Without hesitation, they answered that the assistance was urgently needed. I will talk about the details of the support that Japan provide. However, I could not have imagined the extent of the devastation in disaster-stricken area at that time like this. Sorry. Yes. First, I would like to provide a brief overview of the history of the major earthquake in both Japan and Turkey. In Japan, the most notable earthquake in history is the Great Kanto earthquake in 1923, while in Turkey, it was the 1939 Erzincan earthquake. Both earthquakes has a magnitude close to 8 and over 30,000 people died. In Japan, this earthquake marks the beginning of the disaster prevention efforts. For example, many schools conduct disaster drill on the 1st of September, the anniversary of the Great Kanto earthquake. Over the last 30 years, both countries have experienced the devastating earthquake. In 1995, the Great Hanshin Awaji earthquake struck the Western Japan. I will later share some information lessons learned from these earthquakes. In 1999, two big earthquakes occurred in Izmit and in Düzce. In 2011, big earthquake occurred in both countries. In Japan, the Great East Japan earthquake, and in Turkey, the Van earthquake, in which a staff member of a Japanese NGO, Dr. Miyazaki, lost his life. When the Kumamoto earthquake occurred in Japan in 2015, it resulted in the collapse of the historical Kumamoto castle. Last year, we witnessed the Kahramanmaraş earthquake, which I have already mentioned, as well as the Noto Peninsula earthquake, which shocked Japan on the first day of this year. Japan and Turkey help each other. In 1999, in response to the Izmit earthquake, the Japanese government dispatched the various teams of the Japanese disaster relief. The rescue team departed from Japan the same day of the earthquake occurred. In addition, Japan provided prefabricated house delivered via the ship of self-defense force. During the Great East Japan earthquake in 2011, Turkish government dispatched the Turkish aid rescue team. This team conducted rescue operations longer than any other team for all over the world. I will explain the detail in the next slide, but last year Japanese government provided various support to Turkey as well. This mutual assistance demonstrates that Japan and Turkey are the best friends helping each other in the time of difficulties. In the Kahramanmaraş earthquake, Japanese government dispatched the Japan Disaster Relief Rescue Team immediately on the same day of the earthquake occurred. And the team arrived at the disaster-struck area the next day. Following the rescue team, Japan dispatched the medical team. This team is a WHO certificated type 2 EMT with surgery and inpatient facilities. The necessary assets and equipment needed by the team were transported by the Japanese Self-Defense Force aircraft. 1 month after the earthquake occurred, Japanese dispatched an expert team and carried out surveys with the Turkish government in the earthquake-affected area. Based on these surveys and discussions, Japan provided various recommendations to the Turkish authorities to support recovery effort. In addition, Japanese Self-Defense Force cooperated with NATO in the relief operation. This was the first international emergency relief operation carried out in cooperation with NATO. For the recovery and reconstruction effort, Japan provides support through grants, yen loans, and technical cooperation. In terms of grants, Japan provides a total of 5 billion yen for the recovery efforts. About the yen loans, we support a total of 80 billion yen for reconstruction. In addition, through JICA, Japan is showing its experience and expertise in reconstruction through the technical cooperation. Next, I would like to talk about what Japan has learned from past earthquakes. This photo has stayed in my mind since I was a child. Can you imagine what happened here? This photo was taken after the Great Hanshin-Awaji earthquake in 1994. The bus fortunately stopped just before the part of the highway collapsed due to the earthquake. Had the bus not stopped here, many people would be died. In fact, I'm a civil engineer, so I can explain the reason technically, but I will skip the detail because of the time limit. You can see from the below photos, the piers of the elevated bridge are reconstructed and wider than before the earthquake. After this earthquake, the Japanese government implemented several countermeasures, but I will focus on the two examples today. First one is the countermeasures for roads. Japanese government has selected priority roads for emergency transportation. These roads are important for the rescue stage, but also for the reconstruction stage. To ensure these roads remained operational, Japanese government reinforced bridge piers and installed the bridge fall prevention structures. These technologies are used not only in Japan but also in abroad. In Turkey, Japanese government supported the seismic reinforcement for large-scale bridge in Istanbul through the yen loan after the Izmit earthquake. Next, the collapse in the above two photos occurred in earthquake in Japan and Turkey. Do you think these collapses are the same? The left photo is the Great Hanshin Awaji earthquake in 1994, and the right photo is the Kahramanmaraş earthquake in 2023. These are called as a pancake crash and are caused by the lack of the earthquake resistance in buildings. In Japan, the government has revised the earthquake resistance standards and enact the legislation to promote earthquake reinforcement. In this reason, Japan improved not only seismic reinforcement, the one shown on the left side, but also the seismic control in the middle and seismic isolation on the right. I think that this technology may be beneficial for Turkey as well. About these technologies, some Japanese companies have already expanded into Turkey. Next, I will briefly introduce the disaster risk reduction. I would like to talk about the result of the legal developments. As you can see from the color maps of Japan, urban areas such as Tokyo, Nagoya, and Osaka are most completed reinforced as of 2017. However, in rural areas such as Noto Peninsula, where the big earthquake occurred in last January, the ratio of reinforcement is low. Therefore, some buildings, mainly wooden ones, collapsed, while reinforced concrete structure largely remained intact. Next, I will briefly introduce the disaster risk reduction cooperation between Japan and Turkey. In 2014, MIT, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism, and Afet signed the Declaration of Goodwill about the Disaster Management Collaboration Dialogue and started to hold the Japan-Turkey Disaster Management Joint Seminar. In 2018, we expanded this cooperation in the government level and signed a memorandum on disaster risk reduction cooperation between the government of Japan and the government of the Republic of Turkey. Finally, MRIT and Afet co-hosted the Turkey-Japan Disaster Management Joint Seminar in Istanbul in last September and exchanged the opinion about the response and measures for earthquake and floods. Finally, I would like to introduce my suggestion for Turkey. This is the information for earthquakes by the Turkish media. You can understand where the epicenter was and how large the earthquake was from the number of the magnitude. How does Japanese media report earthquakes in Japan? In Japan, media reported them like this. You can see some numbers in the map. These numbers informed us the extent of shock in each point using 10 ranks. These numbers help us estimate the intensity of damage in each point. Japan Meteorological Agency, which is in charge of the observation for earthquake, released the seismic intensity number in Japanese Shindo just 30 seconds after the earthquake occurs. I would like to explain Japanese seismic intensity scale called Shindo. Shindo has 10 ranks, ranking from 0 to 4, 5 minus, 5 plus, 6 minus, 6 plus, and 7. When earthquake happened, the degree of the damage does not solely depend on the different distance from the epicenter. For example, the damage may be greater in soft ground, even if it is far away from the epicenter, as can be seen in my slide. Therefore, Japan attached more importance to Shindo than magnitude because it gives more detailed information about the impact of the earthquake. So it's very small, but this is the explanation of the seismic intensity Shindo by Japanese Meteorological Agency. From a lot of earthquake, Japan has estimated the extent of the damage caused by looking at the rank of Shindo. Therefore, Japanese government responds as based on the Shindo when an earthquake occurs. For example, the government emergency team will be called in over 6 minus, and the self-defense force and Japan Coast Guard will begin damage investigation over 5 minus. Orange, yellow one. I refer the medically seismic intensity, but if Turkish government switches to the Shindo, Japanese seismic intensity scale, Turkey might have been able to inform like this slide. Thank you for hearing me. Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you very much. Maybe we can change again. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for your talk. Now we learn about Japanese experience from you, and also you did Turkey. That will be also great for us to see the differences. So I will continue with the last panelist. Mr. Junaid Rafiq. I will just introduce you in short. Mr. Rafiq, he's currently a focal point of Committee on City Diplomacy and Local Governance at United Cities and Local Governments in Middle East and West Asia section. Mr. Rafiq possesses 3 years of experience in urban diplomacy and international networking, having been part of the world's largest network of local and regional governments. His works have focused on resilience in cities, localization of global agendas, voluntary local reviews, and so on. He has engaged in activities that promote development dialogue and advance the SDGs. In addition, he has participated in projects focused on refugees and human mobility, climate change, and conservation of cultural heritage. Notably, he is an alumnus of International Local Governments Internship Program conducted by the Union of Municipalities of Turkey, which he participated in 2020. Now I'm giving the floor to Mr. Junaid Rafiq. Would you like to hear, or I can change maybe
no,
the
I can
slides?
Continue from
Okay, great. I'm
Thank you.
opening the presentation from here.
Please, if you can have the presentation. Thank you, Dr. Meltem, for this kind introduction, and thanks for having me here as the representative of UCLG MEWA. I would like to start with what you mentioned in my introduction as an alumnus of the local international program. It was 4 years ago when I walked into this building as a participant of the the International Local Authorities Internship Program for Professionals. And I cannot be more proud and thankful to the Union of Municipalities of Turkey for this opportunity. Today, after 4 years, I am representing the world's largest network of the local governments. Just before the panel, I had a chat with Mr. Erdem, and he said that we have chosen the right people for the internship program. So I would like to once again thank you, this institution, for this valuable opportunity. And as a professional, I have been trying to build on it and cater it further into my experiences in this area. Just like TBP or Union of Municipalities of Turkey, we are representing 16 countries in the Middle East and West Asia region. Our experiences are slightly different what others have specifically mentioned in their presentations, distinguished speakers, Mr. Ambassador, Ms. State Councillor, and another colleague from Japan. So there was a lot of comparative and scientific studies. But before I start, I want to tell you about the resilience in the Middle East and West Asia region, which is a very different and difficult approach for the local governments, particularly the cities at the forefront of this, of the disasters particularly. Let's start with what is resilience. Resilience means to have the courage to stand in front of any act. Mostly we call disasters as an act of God. Some are human-made disasters, but whosoever is responsible, it's our duty to respond. So resilience is actually responding. So what does resilience do? Preparing to respond and recover from disasters with minimal harm. Disasters can happen anytime, but what we need to do is to reduce the impact and have the minimized harms so that people who are affected may not have an aftershock just because of a disaster. Address challenges like climate change and urban growth. There is no difference than what's happening in the world throughout in terms of climate. We have the conferences just at the beginning of this month. We had the COP16 Conference of Parties 16 in Riyadh. That's the UN Convention to combat desertification. Now today, this Resilience Congress is a significant opportunity for the local actors, for the international community to think what is important and what needs to be done in terms of resilience and building urban resilience. It also means to protect essential services and support vulnerable groups. In my presentation, I'm going to tell you how we are going to support the vulnerable groups. We are addressing a lot of diverse community, so we need to be able to encapsulate, we need to cover all the disasters, but we have to create a conscience in ourselves so that we may be able to live with the shocks that we receive after any disaster. And the most important thing of building resilience is making cities more livable. It can be only possible when we put a lot of planning, a lot of efforts when it comes to government, the central governments, the local governments. Local governments have a different role. I remember Mr. Ambassador saying yerelden geleceğe, which is the future that starts from the local action. In the next slide, I'll tell you about the importance of resilience for the MEWA region. MEWA is a code for the Middle East and West Asia, just like CEMR is Council of European Municipalities and Regions. In these facts, we can see that cities are cities are significant contributors to global greenhouse gas emissions, accounting for around 70% due to energy use, transportation, and industrial activities. In the MEWA region, the emissions are about 3.9% of the total, which is significantly less, but it has a huge impact on the region. Urban areas in the region face critical climate change risks such as extreme heat. I'm going to talk about it in which country this particular disaster is quite normal. Water scarcity, flooding, and rising sea levels. Coastal cities in MEWA are particularly vulnerable to storm, surge, and sea level rise. Rapid urbanization in the region amplifies these challenges, with more than half of the global population already living in cities. Yesterday we talked about somebody in the panel with the mayor said, why not dirençlilik, why not resilient rural spaces? I think the answer lies with, because by 2050, 70% of the world's population will be living in urban spaces. So we have to foresee what's going to come in next 20, 30 years. We're seeing rapid changes in urbanization. If we see Ankara, it has swollen, I would say, and it is growing like in every dimension. So has Istanbul, and at the same time, we're expecting and anticipating a huge, what we call as Marmara earthquake in Istanbul. So we have to be very careful in planning our design of the cities. Resilience is essential to help cities adapt to climate risks, protection, population, and ensure sustainable urban growth. We always talk about sustainable urban growth, but the sustainable urban growth is that whatever we are doing right now, it's not very sustainable. We see the buildings that we build right now, after 30 years, we go for, in Turkish we call it kentsel dönüşüm, which means the urban transformation. So what we are making is not very sustainable. So we need something which is very, in Turkish culture, which is very stable and something very permanent. In the session cultural heritage, if we go on with the current schemes, I don't think we will have any cultural heritage in terms of buildings in the future. So in the next slide, I will quickly tell you about the challenges faced by the cities in the MEWA region and how they come to be. It's water scarcity, extreme heat, flash flooding, and sandstorms. Water scarcity is a critical issue in Palestinian and Jordanian cities, where the availability of freshwater resources is minimal. According to the World Bank, Jordan is one of the world's most water-scarce countries, with an average of only 90 cubic meters of water available per person annually, far below the global poverty line of 1,000 cubic meters. These are some figures that we will talk about. Political and geographic restrictions in Palestine. further limit access to water, exacerbating the crisis. Palestine has a different situation, and these kind of situations are quite normal. What we're seeing in Gaza right now is just an example of how things unfold in these countries in our region. Extreme heat. I think in the summers this year and last year we had extreme hot summers, resulting in a lot of wildfires at the same time. But mostly Gulf states, including the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, are experiencing more intense heat waves and higher average temperatures due to climate change. The Gulf region has witnessed rising temperatures, within states like Kuwait state recording the hottest temperature on Earth in recent years, peaking at 54 degrees centigrade. That's like 129 Fahrenheit in 2016. These extreme heat events pressure energy resources for cooling, public health, and infrastructure, requiring adaptive measures such as heat-resistant urban design and energy-efficient technologies. I think a lot of this goes into planning the buildings, because we build maybe for the need at the current time. If we are having a temperature of about 1 degree, which is above normal, but we're not planning for the future as well. So we are always limited to maybe 1, 2, 3 years. That needs to be addressed in our policies are actually responsible for making the change. Sandstorms is the most important in some of the states, particularly in Saudi Arabia and Iraq. They have like significant health and environmental challenges because of sandstorms. And according to the United Nations Environment Program, the storms in the Middle East are on the rise due to desertification. I just talked about the summit on desertification that was held earlier this month in Riyadh. These storms reduce air quality, cause respiratory issues, and disrupt transportation. Iraq and Saudi Arabia experience multiple dust storms annually, with Iraq's capital Baghdad often seeing reduced visibility and health risks. Health risks due to these storms. So one is climate effect, another is health issue. Human mobility is restricted because of these disasters. I would say you have to be ready for any kind of disaster, but a sandstorm can occur anytime and nothing can prevent it. So we have to be very adaptive, just like we said. But how can we be very adaptive? That we have to discuss in our region in addressing the challenges to the disasters. These are, in the next slide, please. Thank you. These are the countries that we represent in MEWA, and that's Afghanistan. I will quickly talk about what these look like. In Afghanistan, earthquakes, it's very close to the Hindu Kush mountain range, which is close to the Great Himalayas. Flooding, we all know the situation in Afghanistan in the last 2 decades, so there is no description about it. We have to actually address the problems, not to discuss the problems. Severe droughts have been the key disasters in Afghanistan, and landslides, particularly in the mountainous regions. Bahrain, a country in the Gulf, extreme heat, flooding, sea level rise because it's a coastal state. Iran is neighboring Turkey, and I think it has some connections in the fault line as well. If we talk about the fault line that passes through Turkey, has some roots extending in Iran. Flooding is also very crucial disaster in Iran. Drought in some of the regions and dust storms increasing due to desertification. Iraq, sandstorms, flooding, drought, extreme heat, as I mentioned in the previous slides. Jordan, prominent in water scarcity, flooding, and drought due to absence of rainfall for a longer period. Kuwait, sandstorms, extreme heat, flooding, and water scarcity. Lebanon, very close to Turkey, flooding, wildfires, earthquakes, and extreme heat. Oman, cyclones, flooding, heat waves, Palestine, as I mentioned, water scarcity, flooding, and drought. There are many other reasons for drought in Palestine as well. And Qatar, extreme heat, just because it's in Gulf, water scarcity, relies on desalination for fresh water. So the technology is in use in Qatar for the availability of potable fresh water for the citizens and dust storms as well. Saudi Arabia, sandstorms, flooding, drought, extreme heat. We know the mountains in and deserts in Saudi Arabia are turning green because of the extreme rains, and we are seeing maybe the end of the world. Syria, drought, flooding, wildfires, and sandstorms. Turkey, very prominently earthquakes. We know all about the history of the earthquakes in Turkey. The prominently Kahramanmaraş, 6 February 2023 earthquake that resulted in more than 50,000 deaths. It had effects on Syria as well. Flooding, particularly in the Black Sea region, wildfires, terrible, in the coastal areas of the Aegean Sea and Mediterranean region, there were numerous wildfires, and I think yesterday I think Ahmed Arı, the mayor of Muğla, he talked about the wildfires and the response from the local governments and their limitations in addressing the challenge. There has been extreme heat, which is very intolerable to people here, because we are not used to extreme heat in Turkey, so it can be listed as a vulnerability to disasters in Turkey. We are also representing Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, flooding, flash floods, especially in winter, earthquakes, wildfires, heat waves in United Arab Emirates, dust storms, flooding, water scarcity. They also rely heavily on desalination of the seawater. And at last, Yemen, which is the 16th country in our region, flooding, drought, cyclones, vulnerable to tropical cyclones in the south, and extreme heat in Yemen as well. In the next slide, I'll mention the broader urbanization and infrastructure challenges that are very prominent in the Meva region. So rapid urbanization and population growth, with more than half of the global population living in urban areas, cities in Meva region are experiencing significant population growth, placing immense pressure on infrastructure and services. According to the United Nations, the urban population in the Meva region is expected to grow by over 60% by 2050, with cities like Cairo, Tehran, and Riyadh seeing rapid expansions. This growth often leads to the overcrowded cities, inadequate housing, and the proliferation of informal settlements that lacks access to essential services like clean water, sanitation, and healthcare. I want to add a comment on the proliferation of informal settlements. Yesterday, I think Mayor of Adana, Mr. Zeydan Karala, talked about the establishment of Gecekondu, which is informal settlement in other words. So nobody who ever takes floor here is out of vacuum. There has to be a solid reason for that, and I think this is one of the examples. In his context, it was mainly the Turkish concept of iç göç, dış göç, the external migration and the internal migration as well. So these are very prominent when it comes to the disasters and the challenges. We have to. Okay. So, okay, great. So we have to we talk about the economic inequality and poverty. I can share this. You already have the presentation, so we can skip about it. I will quickly go about our. Can you move the presentation, Doctor? Yeah. So, as UCLG Meva, we adopted the Resilient Meva Region and Trabzon Resilience Declaration following the earthquakes in 2023. Before that, we had already the Resilient Meva Region. We had some colleagues yesterday. I spoke with some of them. They said from the Union of Municipalities of Turkey, they have attended our training in Trabzon. And the Trabzon Resilience Declaration was Actually, what we wanted to empower our cities to to keep them ready in face of the disasters. So we have the resilient Meva vision, and under that we have divided a lot of subcategories that we want to address in the coming years. The Trabzon Resilience Declaration was one of the prominent outcomes of this. I have some copies. I can give it to our counselor. She's curious about it. So this declaration serves as the original roadmap towards building resilient cities. It emphasizes a multifaceted approach addressing disaster management, risk governance, social resilience, and environmental stability. The TRD, or the Trabzon Resilience Declaration, recognizes the need for comprehensive disaster preparedness strategies, risk reduction plans, and recovery efforts. So for that, we had the capacity building initiatives. The first was done for the Arab cities in the Al Fujairah, United Arab Emirates. It was done in cooperation with UCLG, UNDRR, ROAS, a region of Arab states, and ATO, which means Arab Towns Organization. We actually, this was the first resilience training we had for the Arab cities in 2022. Following that, we had the resilience training for Turkish cities in Trabzon after the February 2023 earthquake. It was again done in cooperation with UCLG Learning and UNDRR ROAS. And we also had capacity building, under the capacity building initiatives, webinars. One was very similar to what we are doing here right now. Local governments in disasters, precautions, emergency action, and recovery. It was done in April 2023. And another one was sharing experiences and lessons learned that we are just explaining or about to explain in this session. And the important thing is that if you follow the headlines, the capacity building, now next is engagements. The engagements, we had a very prominent conversation with mayors in Brussels at the Brussels Urban Summit. The event facilitated dialogue among cities to review disaster preparedness, share best practices, and strengthen commitments towards a resilient urban future. This was a conversation with Turkish mayors in Brussels. Following that, we had again engagements in Global Resilience Forum, which was held in October 2023. You will see a lot of engagements because we are giving our cities a platform to share their experiences and learn from experiences of others. And I think we have to continue it in the future as well. Marmara Urban Forum, which was with the theme was very prominent and relevant, resilience and beyond. So that was in 2023, and European Urban Resilience Forum in Cascais, Portugal, in October 2023. Following that, we have a lot of partnerships for the resilience. We started the Arab Mayors Academy in 2024. The first edition was held in Beirut, Lebanon, in July, and the valedictory function was held in Cairo during the World Urban Forum 12 in Cairo. We also had World Urban Forum. We had three important sessions there for resilience. Local action for SDG achievement and urban resilience. It was in partnerships with Medina Municipality. Resilient Meva vision that I just mentioned, the vital role of LRGs, local and regional governments, in ensuring safer tomorrows in urban areas, which is part of the GCOM Alliance, Global Covenants of Mayors Alliance. And the last one was integrated disaster risk reduction and resilience for cities. Voices from cities was the name of the session. It was again done with UNDRR, ROAS, Asian Development Bank, and of course UCLG Meva. And then the publications, we have shared examples of disasters and disaster mitigation from our region. It was done in partnership with UCLG and MCR, Making Cities Resilient 2030, and UCLG. This publication highlights successful examples of disaster risk reduction and resilience building efforts in Turkish and Arab cities, providing a contextualized understanding of regional approach to urban resilience. And at last, we are preparing a publication which is building climate resilience in the Meva region. I'm sure it will be complete by end of this month because we are short of deadlines. And to conclude with, I have a slogan, let's build a resilient future together, and we invite all our members, particularly the mayors. It doesn't have to be from the mayor in our region, it can be European mayors or the mayors from Japan, Chile as well, to join the Trabzon Resilience Declaration. That's all from my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the last presentation from Middle East and East Asia region. West Asia, I'm so sorry. West Asia region. So before going through the session of debate and question and answers, I just would like to show small videos from Chile example, because we forgot. Because for the case of Chile, they had a lot of improvements and changes through the years, and Mr. Ambassador told us different approaches and paradigm changes from emergency to risk management. So I will give some summaries of each participants, and then we will continue with the question and answers. But before that, I just would like to ask to show some small short videos from Chile. Are we having it? Okay. So during that time, maybe it's I can give some summary about the Chile example then. Okay, it will take time. So just maybe I will get some questions from the audience, but while you are thinking about what questions you would like to ask to any panelists here, maybe it's better to give you some summaries that I took from the panelists. So the first panelist, Mr. Ambassador of Chile, he gave very brief example experiences from Chile, and I told that I took some note about that the national platform since 2012 engaged with this, the new approach from change from emergency management to the risk management. So after that year, they had some other kind of improvements like Senapred. They had a kind of from national level to the local level, they were using this new method, I should say. So in that case, and from Turkey side, we also know that Chilean example is a best or good example, one of the good examples among other countries. Okay, is it coming? No. So, so that's why. Okay, please. Maybe I should stop here and we can see it.
Maybe
not. Not yet? We couldn't make it? Maybe I can open from here? No? Okay. Maybe at the end of the debate we can... I watched the videos. It was quite good to see that people from some cities of Chile, that they are just watching everything is moving. It might be the similar attitudes in the Japan case as well. I saw some videos from there too, so that it was a quite, how can I say, strong shake, and I think it is like a magnitude of 8.5 or something in 2015 earthquake. And then everyone is just watching it and trying to be holding the safer area. It is from, I think, airport, the footage from the airport, so that Since they had a very good improvements during the years, or through all years, they have a good trust to the buildings, so that they don't need to run out from the building. So that is different than when you see such things. We may have some examples that somebody can jump from the window in the case of Turkey sometimes, because we may not sure about some of the buildings could be properly built, so that the behavior of the public may change in that case when you have a good engineering standards through the time. I guess we couldn't make it.
If I may say, well, I think that
is it? Oh my God. No?
Maybe not.
Okay. Okay. This is the before the improvements. They had a similar scenes like we had in 1999 earthquake in Turkey and some other earthquakes like the latest one, but we cannot hear it.
Times Chile for 11 horrifying minutes and sent shockwaves around the world, triggering destructive tsunamis. 15 hours later, a 35-foot wave smashed into Hilo on the Big Island of Hawaii, more than 6,000 miles away. 1,600 houses destroyed, 185 people dead or missing. A day later, a deadly 18-foot wave slammed into Japan. Tsunamis swept across the Pacific from the Philippines to California.
Along the California coast, it swept in at an angle, ripping coastal installations and causing heavy damages.
It wasn't the worst earthquake ever, but it was the worst ever recorded. For the first time, a quake's tremendous power and reach were picked up by sensors, newly placed around the globe to monitor Cold War nuclear testing by the U.S. and Soviets.
When you have a big enough earthquake, it releases enough energy to set the whole earth ringing almost like a bell, and that rang for days after the 1960 earthquake.
That 1960s earthquake had another impact. It convinced quake-threatened cities from Chile to California to toughen up building codes and beef up tsunami warning systems. These black and white images, the start of a new age of earthquake science and preparedness. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Furniture and things during the because it's also some danger inside the houses or apartment. So that lesson has been very well learned. We do not behave the same way in other kind of this is the airport. It was 8 point something, and the people keep sitting. And then
the sound. If you can, we can observe it. But the next one we can.
say if an earthquake in Chile, you see Chilean running. That's the preparation, you know, in terms of awareness and how to trust in the building's construction. And
Okay, I think it's...
I don't know. We're okay.
If we prepare, we make drills and we check the companies for the yes, that's what I want to say. During the earthquake of 85, just one building collapsed. One, it collapsed completely one side, but it didn't. You know, the problem was the construction company didn't follow the rules, and they were very severely punished. Because it was the only one. We had all the main central area of Chile that where the 60% of population lives, but just one building collapsed. Yeah, so,
great success. Thank you very much. It was, I think it's a great success. I should say that you learned from the past, and you maybe I might have a question, but before that, maybe I can take some questions just now for Chile example, if you have now from the. Oh, okay, we have a lot. So maybe we can start from the front. Will we in Turkish or in English? Okay, shall we have a microphone? Thank you very much.
Dear Mr. thanks for your nice presentation. I'm a faculty member at the Department of Architecture from Çukurova University, Alınan province. So I have a question. You mentioned about transition from emergency to risk management. Can you explain very briefly about the main tools to this transition? Because we want to learn your experience in this issue. Thank you very much.
Okay, I had to say I'm not an expert, but the transition was how to deal with the problems, in terms of start doing some, as our colleague from Italy said, the maps of risks, and in terms of foreseeing what is going to happen. Is not waiting for things happen. It's not to have rescue teams. It's changed completely to have a system of how you say supervisors that check that the houses are not built in a risk area. The code that not allowed that the things could happen there. It could be a flood, or we have a big problem now because in some area, in the coastal area, some companies built a couple of buildings on sands mountains, and it was completely unlawful to do that. Now they are closing that area. So to change from to be prepared for the event and to be aware that the event is going to happen and what we have to do to avoid the damages, like maps of risk and coordination and everything. But it goes beyond rescue teams and to have airplane, cistern airplanes for bushfires or everything, is to make the right things and ask the forestry companies to have, a management plan in case of bushfire or other things. So it's completely changed the focus. That was the change. It's a mental change, I would say. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much. Another question? Okay, please. Then I will hear you later.
My question would be to Ms. Gotardi and also Mr. Rafik. Maybe. My name is Umut Berker-Sevilmiş. I'm from Çankaya Municipality. I'm Director of Foreign Relations, but I'm also a former Director of Disaster Management. So in here, after the earthquake, after the big earthquake in 2023, we are discussing about actually a match between municipalities in the country, because after the earthquake we tried to take aid to the cities who really got a big damage from the earthquake, but there is a huge lack of coordination and cities didn't know how to do that. So right after the earthquake we had a lot of different studies about how to provide a good coordination, cooperation, and last May we visited, with the funding, we visited 6 different cities, came together with 120 representatives from 40 different municipalities, and everybody was talking about how we should provide a coordination, because I think we are kind of late for such a resilience in Chile, and we have to get ready for a big hit from Marmara region or from Izmir, from Bursa, which are really very dangerous areas at the moment. Anytime an earthquake, a huge earthquake can happen. So is there any network among the municipalities in Italy or in UCL Geneva, which is like setting an environment for municipalities to get in touch with each other, to cooperate, but the municipalities from different disaster areas, not in the same disaster zone, because when an earthquake happens, even if you have the best research and rescue teams, they will be the victims of disaster, and they will not be able to coordinate, they will not be able to take the action, so they will expect help from other cities. So we're always discussing about that, and I also want to bring this issue to the table in Union of Municipalities in here, and I don't know if they have any studies on that at the moment recently. Maybe they do, maybe I'm not aware of that, but I just wanted to raise this question for Ms. Gotardi and Mr. Rafik.
Who would like to start first?
I can say something about Italian experience. In Italy there have been plenty of earthquakes, but as I remember, no earthquake came in a municipality in which each municipality had only one earthquake. I mean, there was an earthquake in Calabria, so in the south of Italy. I mentioned the one in Irpinia, that is in Campania, Naples. Another one in Friuli, in the north, in the extreme north, next to Yugoslavia, and one in Emilia-Romagna region. Another one in L'Aquila, pretty famous, unfortunately famous. And we have different experience depending on where the disaster came. For example, in Campania, after the earthquake occurred in 1980, there are still some buildings to restore. In Emilia-Romagna we had the earthquake in 2012, and the situation is almost perfect, which is the experience of Emilia-Romagna. The region, the president of the region was nominated commissioner for reconstruction, so he is in charge of the coordination of the reconstruction for all the municipality involved. So every month the commissioner calls all the municipality. There is a description, a perfect description of all the things that are needed by the municipalities, and the commissioner is still in charge until everything will be restored. So this is I want to say that also in Italy there are different situations depending on how efficient is the institutional network. The best experience is the one in Emilia-Romagna region, and I can tell you, that I finished, that there are municipalities that were poor municipalities with not an efficient balance, but now they are better than before. So they transformed the disaster into opportunities. They received funds and they rebuilt everything. They restored church with ancient paintings, and now you should come and see what they did. And the best experience is this one, the region that coordinates all the municipalities, and Emilia-Romagna doesn't leave the municipalities alone.
I would like to quickly respond to this query by Mr. Umut. When it comes to the awareness, there's a definite lack of awareness about the disasters and building resilience. Forget about the network in the first place. After the earthquake, I mean, we had a lot of interaction with the municipalities, and I think there was definitely this talk about having disaster departments in municipalities that can overlook these situations. But as a network, when we are offering any kind of network throughout the cities beyond the geographical scope when it comes to the Middle East and West Asia region, there are different success stories, and there are different trainings that we are trying to combine for our municipalities, but they're not showing interest. That's, I think this is a hard reality that we should accept. You're from Çankaya municipality. It's a district in Ankara, I guess, yeah. So if this thought comes from Çankaya, it should come from maybe Ankara Metropole or maybe the broader Central Anatolian region. But trust me, there is lack of awareness among the mayors about how to respond to these disasters. This year we were planning a joint resilience forum with a UK-based network known as Tomorrow's Cities. So along with UCLG Africa and UCLG MEWA, we had a deal struck in Barcelona. We decided to come together, but when we came to Turkish municipalities, and we decided to do it in Turkey because of the recent earthquake, but no city showed interest. maybe we can, yes, sure. That's definitely a great opportunity. Maybe we can combine. That was a very good opportunity for our network, because the expertise would come from the United Kingdom, and we would have some local expertise as well from different countries as well, but no city showed interest. So there is a lack of awareness. I reiterate that, how to respond, because a lot of these comes from the political agendas. There are mayors who are newly appointed. They don't know how to tackle their local situations, so a lot of goes into, I mean, maybe the first term they're just observing what we should do, and I mean, in the face of disaster, of course we have to respond in a very in a situation of emergency. So that's the problem. Yeah, thank you. Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. One more question behind. Yeah, there is, but before I remember, first lady, maybe the... Okay, please, because you are very close. Because I remember that you... Yeah, okay, please. You need to whom? Kime?
Şili'den.
O zaman.
Aslında herkese de olabilir.
Okay.
Sorun değil.
Just biraz beklerseniz. Okay. It's okay, no problem. We have time.
Tamam. Konuşayım mı? Tamam. Eylem Ulutaş Ayater ben, İzmir Büyükşehir Belediyesi'nden. Ben bir 6 Şubat depremi sonrası bir röportaj okumuştum. Şili'de bir belediye başkanı, bir de depremle ilgilenen bir bilim insanının röportajıydı. Şöyle bir ifade kullanmışlardı, özetiyle ifade edeyim. Biz yaşadığımız acılardan ders aldık demişlerdi. Aslında bizim için hani bu kadar kısa sürede hani bu ilerleme büyük bir başarı, hani darısı başımıza diyerek başlayayım. Bir de şeyi sormak istiyorum, ben esas sorum şu. Tasarım mühendislerinin yetkinliğinin sağlanması, imza yetkilerinin sınırlanması noktasında ne tür önlemler alındı? Bir yapının yıkılmanın ardından müteahhitinin ceza aldığından bahsettiniz. Ne tür cezalar var? Yetki belgesi iptali söz konusu mu? Bir de mesleki sorumluluk sigortası işliyor mu? Çünkü bizim bu konuyu değerlendirdiğimizde riskin çok fazla olması nedeniyle pek yanaşılmıyor bu konuya, ilerleme sağlayamıyoruz. Bu anlamda da ilerleme sağlayamıyoruz. Ben bunu merak ettim aslında. Sadece Şili değil, yani tüm katılımcıların buradaki süreçlerine.
Teşekkürler. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. I cannot respond in Turkish, but yeah, we learn from pain from this earthquake in Chillán, in Valdivia, and after the 1960, main universities in Chile create the special area for seismology, building construction, engineering. So that was the technical side. But also the government established these codes. And I think the big punishment comes from the people, because the people is aware of what happened and who was which company built that. Also, we have all houses in Chile has insurance, and you may think that the payment of the insurance is high. It is not. It is not because of the codes, and the insurance companies, before giving you the certificate that you are insured, they review the building, and they know which company built it and how, and you have to present the building's construction specification. So it's a multitask. It's not just one company, government, banking sector, insurance companies, and everybody, because we know that we are in a big risk. So we have that system, but the main person in charge is the consumer. The people, the people who buy, who, when we. That is true. You want to buy something and you start touching the walls and where is the house is constructed and everything, because we learned how to do it. But it's a multitask. It's not just government, as I said. It's society, it's companies, it's banking sector, everybody. So I think that answered your question. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Does anybody wants to answer as well here? No? Okay, one more question, because we have 10 minutes left.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador. I'm Tolu Lokpe Ajobiwe, and I'm a PhD student at the Middle East Technical University. I don't know if, it's just a very quick question. Now when we're looking at countries that are doing very well when it comes to regulations and enforcement of building codes, we look towards Chile, we look towards Japan. But I was wondering, when you were trying to make your transformation, were there examples, like countries you had to look towards to see how they did theirs, or was it entirely an introspection of the Chilean state to say, let's look inwards and make our plans? Or was it like you looked outside and got some examples?
Well, as part of this conference is the Sendai lines and what the United Nations guidelines. So we participate with our experience, but we take experience from abroad also. But each country has different risks and local experiences. Yes. We cannot do it alone. Alone in Chile, between us, or alone in the international community. So we try to export and promote or cooperate with our codes and our system, but also to learn from other countries' experience. Our relation with Japan is very strong in this area. So there is two areas where we cooperate very much with Japan. One is disaster prevention, and the other is stomach cancer. I don't know why we have the same problem, but and also the management. One thing that you mentioned before is the management of the stress, and how to cope with that. But we have to transform what we know about earthquake to the management of other kind of disasters, because we are very well prepared for earthquake, but are not very well prepared for other things. So that's area where we need other countries' support. Yeah. We had a tornado recently. We never had one. And in Chile, very strong winds in central Chile. Very, the electricity cut for 2 weeks. And we have many problems. That the impact in people and in politics is very important. You mentioned about to move population from risk area. That is very costly. Yeah. Not just economically costly, it's also politically very costly for mayors, for government, for everybody. We had a bushfire in Valparaiso that, I don't know, 230 people died. In the fire, and the main focus of critics were against the mayor and to the response response teams, because there were no plan for management the risk. That's why it was so high. So. Earthquake come to ask me or Japan or Italy, yeah. But for other things, we are going to ask the others. It's a common, task.
Yeah. Any other questions? One more? Yes. Okay, we can. Then I will conclude the session. We are so tired, maybe. And.
Thank you very much. Dear President tonight, I have another question. It's about, as you mentioned, extreme heat is being introduced as the main key challenges for the extreme heat. Yeah, is being introduced as the key challenges in the contemporary world. So, is there any rules or maybe strategic plan or roadmap under the MEVA policy regarding the climate change mitigation? Is there or not any roadmap for this part?
As an international association for local and regional governments, we implement the global agendas. We already have like the Paris Climate Agreement, we have the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, and we have the Sustainable Development Goals. These are the main agendas that we work on, and what we do is actually to promote its implementation at the local level. So we are briefing the municipalities, the local governments, what is in Turkish çıktısı. Right, the derivation of a particular section, we make it easy for the cities. The frameworks, the policies are already established. We do contribute to that at different levels, but what we're trying to do is, what I answered to Mr. Umut is to create awareness, to build, to bring cities on track to make them at least realize that there is a threat, there is something we need to do about this, because realization is very important and it's not very common. So all these frameworks, Sendai, the Paris Climate Agreement, and we had a Kyoto Protocol as well, and the Sustainable Development Goals. That's what we actually encourage and implement at the local level. Thank you.
Is there any more details about the extreme heat for this level than, for example, more than SDG goals?
I think as of now, it's quite common in the recent years, as of the research is considered. But specifically some convention for the extreme heat I'm not aware of, and I have not seen of as of, I mean, staying in this capacity. Not specifically for extreme heat, but I think there are researches going on, I mean particularly in the Middle East and West, in the Gulf countries. Specifically, maybe in a couple of years or maybe in next conferences, I mean we have the Sustainable Development Agenda for 2030. So as of 2024 UN Summit of the Future, there was nothing specific about extreme heat. There was climate action, which we reiterated in the COP29 in Baku last month, but there is nothing specific about extreme heat that is in my knowledge, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I think we should end this session. I believe there's no more questions I can see. Thank you very much for the panelists. It was quite nice to have different experiences from different parts of the world. And I think the main problem ahead is climate change and climate crisis in front of us, and there's no boundaries between us. Always we need to cooperate with each other and learn from each other, I believe. Of course, there are specific disasters we might be specialized and know better, but we may need to know multiple disasters at the same time. I think we saw it like during the pandemic, many floods and earthquakes at the same time, and the Tohoku earthquake had the triple disasters, not only the earthquake but the tsunami and nuclear accident. So it is, at that time it was new for us, but now we saw that might happen. So we need to have better scenarios. So I believe that risk maps are quite necessary. If I'm not wrong, I understood from you that having a risk map and scenarios quite critical for us to see possible risks in front of us, and it needs to be shared to the public, not only the institutions. Everyone should know, otherwise how could we be prepared? So these are some critical keynotes from you. That's why I just would like to mention before I close the session. So thank you very much for your attendance and coming. I hope we will have more meetings with you and some networks for the future. Thank you very much. I'm closing the session.